Hello.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Can you guys hear me okay? Thank you again for joining. If you were signed up for last week's, the Preparing Your Small Business for Black Friday, I am so sorry for having to cancel last minute. Client work got a bit crazy, and as much as I love doing these, I do have to prioritize that. But I'm glad we're back this week. Influencer marketing for your small business. Before we get started, it would be great if everybody could just introduce yourself quickly in the chat. So if you just want to send your name, the name of your small business, and the city that you're located in, that would be fantastic. And while you guys are doing that, I'll just quickly introduce myself. My name is Caroline. I am the owner of True Blue Creatives, and that is a digital marketing agency that works with small to medium-sized businesses to really do anything in terms of marketing, whether it's something like this, influencer marketing, social media management, website design. We do it all. So I started doing these workshops about a year ago, just to kind of give newer small business owners the resources they need to grow their business. Yeah, a couple more people are joining, so we'll just let them in. And yeah, just send your name and the name of your small business and where you're from. So we have Larissa from Chicago area. I am also now in Chicago. I moved here from Vegas over the summer, so that's exciting. Faith is also here. She's a licensed therapist and also located in Chicago. That's awesome. Glad to see some people from the area here. I started the group while I was in Vegas, so we do have a lot of Vegas members, as well as, now we're starting to get more Chicago ones. We have Marcy, also south of Chicago, and she does marketing consulting and a multi-vendor site for artists. That's awesome. Okay, a couple more people are joining. All right. For those that just joined, if you just want to introduce yourself in the chat with your name and the name of your small business and where you're from, that would be great. And then we will go ahead and get started. So like I said, tonight we're learning all about influencer marketing and how you can use it to grow your small business. This is kind of just a quick run through the night so you know what to expect. But yeah, the first step is, determining your goal for the influencer campaigns and also defining your target audience. So obviously this goes for pretty much anything you're doing. Like anything in terms of marketing, you want to determine what your goal is, what you want to promote, and then also who you're targeting with it. So do you want to see an increase in sales from these influencer campaigns? Do you want to grow your social media following? Do you just want to increase brand awareness overall? And what do you want to promote specifically in this campaign? Maybe you have an upcoming product launch, or you're restocking. Maybe you're launching a new collection or a new service. Those would all be instances that I would definitely recommend using influencer campaigns. Some people just kind of do influencer campaign as like a consistent marketing technique. So you don't necessarily have like a big launch or a big event coming up, but you would, just continually reach out to new influencers, send them some of your products, just to help increase your brand awareness overall. So next, you want to determine your target audience or your buyer persona. Again, this applies to anything you do in marketing. If you've joined workshops in the past, you've already heard this from me. But your buyer persona is basically a fictional, generalized representation of what your ideal customer would look like. It doesn't have to include all of these things, but it might include their age, gender, income level, their occupation, where they live, what their interests are, any recent life events. And you might have a few different buyer personas depending on what you're selling, what your services are. For example, I have a client that sells sustainable clothing, and they do have like a pretty limited catalog and very specific items, but they still have a couple different buyer personas. One is what we jokingly call the granola mom. That's someone that would obviously be a woman between the ages of, you know, maybe 30 to 45, who, you know, really they're interested in sustainability, organic cooking, maybe they're a stay-at-home mom or a teacher. And then another buyer persona we have is kind of the surfer dude. So this is a male in his 20s to 30s, living in a coastal state who really enjoys surfing, hiking, stuff like that. So even though they have a limited number of products, they have different buyer personas so they can better target their campaigns. And you know, you're really going to focus on different benefits of your business or your product based on who you're targeting to. So this right here is actually a free tool online. You can find it on HubSpot.com. And I will include this link in the workbook I send out after the workshop. But basically, it will walk you through step-by-step of creating these buyer personas. And then it gives you a nice little like free download that you can keep and refer back to whenever you start a new campaign. It just kind of helps keep you on track and, you know, reminds you of who you are actually trying to target. Oops. So let's look at this example here. This is an app that you can find, I believe it's called Batch, and it's used to plan bachelorette trips and parties. On the app, you can find guides for different cities of like where to eat, where different events or activities to do, places to stay. So obviously, you know, they have a very specific target audience. You're looking at women between 25 to 35 years old, maybe an income level around $75,000 because they have to be able to afford to travel, have disposable income to drink, go out to eat, do these events. Located in the United States, and then their interests at the moment would be weddings, event planning, and one of the life events would be recently engaged. Again, you don't have to have all of these things, but anything that you think would play a role in whether or not they'd be interested in your service or your product is definitely important to include. So just a quick activity in a couple sentences, and you can send this in the chat, describe your ideal client or customer. Just take a couple minutes to do that. Send it in the chat so we can kind of bounce ideas off of one another. I will, while you guys are doing that, I'll say mine for True Blue Creatives. We target women between the ages of 25 to 55 that are small business owners full-time and located in the United States. And that is for our like full service, or yeah, I guess our full services. So we kind of do it for you. Obviously, these free events and stuff like that have a slightly different target audience. Okay, commercial businesses, that's good. Anybody else? But basically, once you have that buyer persona determined, you know who you will be targeting with these influencer marketing campaigns. Men and women between the ages of 20 to 40, interested in mental health, and a holistic mindset. That's great. That's really detailed. The more detailed it gets, the better. Dentists and small businesses, that's good. Okay, people in the DC area, B2B clients. Yeah, these are all great. So definitely, like I said, I'll send that link out after the workshop, and definitely take the time to do that so you guys have, you know, more detailed buyer personas that you can use throughout. Okay. So once you know what your goal and your target audience is, you want to find influencers that fit your brand and that you can use. Sorry, you're gonna see my dog in the background. So let's talk about the types of influencers first. These are kind of just what they're categorized as based on how many followers they have. And you'll see here, it kind of goes on a scale of affordability. So obviously the fewer followers they have, the more affordable and the more viable option is going to be for small businesses. Specifically, the nano influencers and the micro influencers are where you're going to want to look. As you get up higher to the mid-tier and macro, it can get pretty expensive, and they're not going to be people who are willing to just do it for free or in exchange for a product or service. So other than just looking at their followers, well, here are a few examples, and full disclosure, if you look any of these up, they probably have more followers now because I made this a little bit ago, but so your nano influencer, we're looking at someone with less than 10K, although this one does have more on TikTok, which is always good. The micro, you have between 10K to 50K, and then here you have 50K to, I believe, 150K. I already forget, but this is kind of the range you would be looking in. So once you know what size you're looking for, the question becomes like, how do you actually find these influencers? Because it can be very time consuming. There are programs out there that you can pay for if you run an agency like mine, where you do this for several different businesses. But as a small business owner, just doing it for yourself, it's probably not worth paying for one of those programs. So I recommend starting with who you follow. Specifically people you follow on your business account, because these are people that have already shown some sort of similarity to your business or the niche that you're in. I would also look through the hashtags that you use on your account and that are part of your niche. You know, on Instagram, when you click on hashtags, same with location tags, it shows the top posts and then it shows recent. Top posts are the most popular posts, so they're usually tied to accounts that have a bigger following. So I would recommend starting there. Location tags are great if you have just a local business, so you have like a set service area, or maybe you have like an in-person location. Using the location tags will allow you to find people that are actually in your area. And then also just looking at similar accounts to yours. So these can be competitors, or these can be people that are in the same industry as you, but maybe not directly competing with you. And see who they follow and look at who follows them. And if there's anybody, you know, with a larger following, you know, they've already indicated by following that account that they have an interest in your niche, and so they might be a good fit. And then you can also do a Google search, especially if you're looking for people that are local or people in a very specific niche. A couple examples, you know, you can Google top Vegas micro influencers or best Chicago foodie accounts, and you will come across a couple of different like articles and blogs that list these accounts out. So that makes it easy. And then of course with any of these, once you start following somebody, you know, Instagram kind of gives you similar accounts, and so you can click through those. It's very easy to go down a rabbit hole here. So just, you know, kind of bookmark as you go along and as you scroll on Instagram, so you can refer back to it later. So specifically for your business, in the chat, why don't you send one way that you can find influencers specific to your business? So maybe it's what would you search on Google, or which hashtag would you look through, which location tag. Just send a couple ideas in the chat, and maybe we can, you know, get ideas from one another. So for True Blue Creatives, I would look under hashtags like women owned, small business owner, small business life, stuff like that. Members in similar meetups, that's a good idea too. Sorry, I have a blanket here. Yeah, that's a good idea. Also people, there's a lot of Facebook groups. Yeah, dating coaches, it's good. Yeah, there are some Facebook groups you can find as well that are specifically for influencers that you can post in, or as well just like finding local Facebook groups that you might want to post in. So I personally recommend following people that are in your niche doing the same thing you are, just for inspiration and ideas for based on what they're posting. And then in terms of like actually finding people to collab with, that would be the people that follow the other coaches. But it's always good to follow your competitors just to kind of stay up to date on what's going on in your industry. So once you locate these influencers' profiles, there are a few questions you want to ask yourself just to make sure that they're, a good fit for your business. So first, what type of content do they post? Is it something that your product could easily fall into, or would it be a little abnormal for them to post it on their account? For example, I have a client that sells all natural liquid supplements. And so we often look for accounts of people that have like vegan recipes or are interested in veganism because they're all plant-based. And sometimes in our search, we come across kind of like vegan moms who mostly post about their kids. We don't market these supplements towards kids, so they would not be a good fit. But if we found a vegan mom that also posted like vegan recipes, they would be a good fit. So that's kind of an example there of what type of content you're looking for. You also want to look at what does their audience look like? Who's liking their post? Who's commenting on their post? And do they fall into that buyer persona we mentioned earlier? A great example for this is that I'm sure you guys know a lot of like the fitness accounts, especially women's fitness accounts. Most of the comments and likes on their pictures might actually be from men. So if you're selling a product targeting women, that might not be a great fit because their audience does not fit that person, like buyer persona. You also want to ask if their values align with your brand. Social media is a go-to place for people to share their opinions and values, which of course everyone is welcome to. But if they have expressed any values that misalign with you and your brand, you might just not want them tied to your business, which is totally your decision. Have they worked with similar brands? So if you have seen they've collaborated with other brands in the past, this could be a pro or a con. If it's more of a long-term partnership with one of your competitors, obviously they're not going to be a good fit. But if you've noticed, in that same example with the like all natural supplements, if maybe they did something with like a protein powder or another holistic health brand, then we know, okay, they're interested in our niche, our industry, so they might be a good fit. And then you want to take a look at their engagement rate. Quickly, your influencers should look like your target audience. And then if the influencer itself doesn't, then their audience definitely should. But let's talk about engagement rate and why that matters. Engagement rate is how many people are actually, interacting with their content and actively following their page, which translates to how many people will actually be seeing and engaging with your posts that they post for you. Which obviously the more people that are actively looking at the post and engaging with it, the higher the value of the post is to you and your business. So I've broken it down into two different types of an engagement rate and how you would calculate it. So first is estimated engagement rate. And this is based on the data that you have access to just by looking at their page. So you would add the number of likes and comments on a post and divide it by the number of followers they have, and that's your estimated engagement rate. Their actual engagement rate is something that you would have to reach out and ask them for, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And that is their likes, comments, shares, and saves divided by the number of people that are actually seeing the post. Your estimated engagement rate is always going to be lower than the actual engagement rate, so you definitely want to keep that in mind. But this can be kind of just a good initial estimate to see how their page is performing. So we're gonna do some math quickly, everybody's favorite thing. Using this example, we wanna calculate her estimated engagement rate. So I try to keep it easy with a flat, 10,000 followers. And her last 3 posts have, her last post has 275 likes, 23 comments. Post 2 has 200 likes, 14 comments, and then post 3 has 315 likes and 21 comments. So quickly do the math and send the answer of what their estimated engagement rate would be in the chat. And if you need me to, I can go back to the previous page. And I also didn't calculate this, so I don't have the answer, so I'll do it with you guys. .48, I don't know, let's see. Sorry, I should have definitely done this before. So I am getting somewhere closer to around 3%. Did anybody else? Math is also not my strong suit, so yeah, I'm getting around 3%. Yeah, let me go back to the previous page. So we're looking at the estimated engagement rate because we would not have this data. So you would be adding the likes and comments and then dividing it by the followers. So yeah, for each of these, it's around 3%. This one was like around 2.9. This was 3.3, but overall an average around 3%. What do you guys, I mean, we will talk about what the average engagement rate is, but you guys just take a guess. Do you think that's good or bad? Good engagement rate, bad engagement rate. Just, you can quickly send it in the chat. Good. Any other guesses? Okay, someone said low. Perhaps not the best. All right. Not sure. So the average engagement rate on Instagram is actually 1 to 3%. So this is actually a pretty good engagement rate, especially since, like we mentioned, her actual engagement rate would probably be even higher than that. So you are looking to the 1 to 3%. If you had somebody that when you did that quick estimated, came out to like 0.7 or slightly below 1%, I would say it's still worth reaching out to them just because, like I said, their actual engagement rate is probably higher. It's important to note that the bigger the account gets, the lower the engagement rate tends to be. Obviously, there's exceptions for like mega celebrities, but in terms of like the influencer world, the bigger the account, the harder it is to keep that engagement rate up, which is why sometimes the nano and micro influencers can be even more valuable than, the mid-tier or higher. So if you find somebody that you really like in terms of they fit your business very well, they have a good engagement rate, the next step would be just reaching out to them, sending them a quick DM. Let me take my dog's toy away quickly. Sorry about that. That would have driven everybody crazy. So the next step would be just reaching out to them on Instagram. Sometimes they have like an email in their bio that you can reach out to for collabs. And just ask if they're basically interested to collab. It doesn't have to be a pretty lengthy or detailed message. And they will either say, yes, that's great, like send me product, whatever, and it's a free collaboration, which is great, or they will say, here's my budget, basically like, here's my rate, I require this much for a post. And if that's the case, you are going to ask for their media kit. A media kit is basically an influencer's resume. It outlines the data from their account, so that's the size of their audience, the audience demographics, so where they're located, their age, their gender. They'll also include analytics for the performance of their posts. So this is where you would find the actual engagement rate, how many people are seeing their posts, how many people are clicking on their website, etc. If they've worked with brands in the past, they'll sometimes also include those campaigns as part of the media kit, so you can see that performance. And then again, if they're charging, they'll include the rates in the media kit. Again, I personally only recommend asking for a media kit if you plan on paying them. Otherwise, it's kind of like asking somebody to, hey, can you update your resume for this volunteer position? Like, it's not something you would want to put the time in to do yourself. But if they ask you, to pay them for a post and you're considering it, you 100% want to ask for this, so you can just make the informed decision. So the next step would be actually organizing your campaign. So first is determining, what type of post you're going to ask the influencer for. Again, I put this on a kind of a value scale. We're starting off with stories, which are the most affordable, but also the least effective. These are the easiest for them to make, but have the lowest reach, lowest engagement, so they're not all that helpful. Next, we have an in-feed photo, which means this would be actually posted onto their main Instagram account, and it would show up in their followers' feeds as they're scrolling through. This one takes a little more effort than the stories. They have to take a nice picture, edit it, and it also has much higher reach and engagement. Slightly above that is an in-feed video. The only reason it's higher is because it's a little more effort for them, but in terms of like engagement and reach, it's about the same. So if you're choosing between the two, I personally would, recommend just doing the in-feed photo. And then the most valuable is definitely an Instagram Reel or TikTok. This is the most time consuming for them to make, but in terms of reach and engagement, this is definitely the most effective. So again, if you are just providing them with free product or a free service, obviously it depends on how much value those products are worth. But I personally would recommend, asking for a feed photo, maybe a story along with it. But once you get into like the Reels and TikToks, people are going to start, expecting some sort of payment because they are time consuming to make. So let's talk about the different types of collaborations you could organize with an influencer. The more creative you get with collaborations, first of all, they're just more fun for you. They're also more interesting for the influencer themselves. So they might be, willing to do it for free or a lower cost. And I think they're also just more effective in terms of, actual conversions and, how the audience reacts to them. So one way is to do kind of a product collaboration. This isn't going to work for every business, but if you have a product-based business and you are willing to have an influencer give some creative input, maybe you could create a product or a collection even with the influencer where they have some creative input. You've seen this done in fast fashion, where celebrities will create a collection with a big fashion brand. Morphe Cosmetics has done it a bunch with influencers where they had major beauty influencers create their own palettes. So those are kind of like much broader scale options, but there are smaller ways you can do it with your own business. You can also have them do like an Instagram takeover. So basically, you would send them a list of prompts and questions to film as if they were on your Instagram story. They would film them beforehand, send them over to you, and then you would post them on whatever day you plan, acting as if they were actually logged into your Instagram and taking over and responding to people. And then the influencer themselves would promote it on their own account to kind of bring their followers over to your account. You can also do a giveaway. So this would kind of work where you would give the influencer free product or free services for them to try themselves. And then as part of their post talking about their experience with your product or service, you would also offer their audience a chance to win a free product or service. And usually that's by having them follow your account, like the post, and tag a friend. And then finally, especially for a more long-term partnership, affiliate marketing is a great choice. Basically, you would give them a special code or a special URL to track, which purchases were actually made by their followers as a result of this campaign, and then they would get a percentage of those sales. So it's more incentive for them to post about your product and service, more than just one time. And it's also just nice to kind of have a long-term partner so you don't have to keep looking for new influencers to work with. Now, another way to kind of just make the most of your campaign is by cross-promoting the content. One way to do that is on your website. So this is actually a screenshot from an old client of mine that we did a lot of influencer marketing for. And they would partner with beauty influencers and kind of do these beauty space spotlights. So they sold makeup organizing products, and so they would send these influencers, a bunch of them, have them organize their vanity, and then the influencer would send us the photos, answer a couple quick, just fun Q&As, and then when we would create an entire blog about it and share it across all of our social medias. Obviously, this was great for us because, again, we had a long-term partner. We gave them some affiliate marketing, a percentage of the sales. So they were more inclined to post about it. It also gave us a lot of content to work with. And then on the influencers end, it gave them the option or the opportunity to earn some extra money, as well as they had something to add to their media kits and their websites as kind of like, hey, look, I was featured. Obviously, reposting on your social media is a big one. Be sure to always tag them. If they give you a review in the post, like kind of talking about how much they love the product, obviously you would want to use that on your website and your social media as well. And then you can also use their photos and videos to run ads, but that's only if you clear it with them first, which we'll talk about. So the next step, once you have all the details of your campaign worked out, and that's usually while talking to the influencer, you kind of reach out and ask, like, hey, I'm looking, I want to send you this product in exchange for one feed post and one story. And then you guys will go back and forth, negotiate, and then once all those details are ironed out, you will create an agreement with your influencer. Sorry, just saw a question for what's a reasonable price for a TikTok. So this really depends, again, on their side, like their following, their engagement rate. So if they have a smaller following, you might be able to find some creators to do it for free in exchange for, your product or service. If they have like 100,000 followers or even 50,000 followers, it kind of gets difficult. I would say anywhere from, you're going to find people that will do it for $50. And then if you have people with, like 1 million followers, you're going to pay easily a couple thousand. So I would say, like, for a small business, stick to like the $50, $100, couple $100 range. It's just a matter of kind of reaching out again and asking if they're interested in collaborating. And most influencers, if they expect to get paid, they will make that known to you, and they will tell you your rates, and then you can kind of go from there. So let's talk about actually creating written agreements. Not all collaborations need a written agreement, so I created kind of this little decision map, and I'll send this to you guys after the workshop, so you have it for reference. But basically, if you're paying the influencer any money, and that includes it like the affiliate marketing structure, if you're gifting them products or services worth a significant amount of money, or if you are planning on using the influencer's content to run ads, you should have a written agreement. If you don't plan on doing any of those, and it's a pretty like straightforward collaboration where you're just sending them a free product and they're giving you a post, you don't need a written product. Keep in mind, there are definitely influencers out there, you will send them free product and you'll never hear from them again. It sucks, it's really rude of them, they should not be doing that, but unfortunately it does happen. So just keep that in mind when you are agreeing to send free products without an agreement. Like, don't send them an amount of free product or provide services in an amount that will seriously hurt your business if they do not follow through. Yeah, same thing as dating. They just completely ghost you. But yeah, so like I put $500 here, but it totally depends on your business. Like, anything that would put your business at financial risk for sending them, have a written agreement. So that way, you can take legal action if needed and get that money or product back. I do not have an example of an agreement with me or on my computer right now, but you can definitely find them online if you just Google, influencer marketing contract or agreement. There are plenty of examples out there. Yeah, I don't even know if I could provide one because I'm not a lawyer and they are contracts. So none of this is meant to be taken as legal advice, quick disclaimer, but you definitely want to protect your business. So in the agreement itself, you want to include obviously the amount of payment, the date of payment, what types of posts and how many posts you expect in exchange from them, the timeline. So this would be, when are you providing the services or the products? How long do they have to post about it after receiving it? And then when will you be sending the payment? Also, you can state in the agreement whether or not you want to have approval before they post. So you can actually have them, send you the photo or the video along with the caption, so you can approve it before they post anything. And then also ownerships and rights. So all the content the influencer creates will always be, their property, which is fair. But in your agreement, you want to be sure you include the rights to, repost that content, add that content to your website. And then this is where, if you do plan on running paid ads with it, you would include that in your usage rights as well. You want to be really, really clear in your agreements, and you want to make sure the agreement protects both parties. So if you send them a contract that only protects your business and only focuses on your business, it's really going to throw them off and kind of make them feel like they're on the defense. So for any clause that you put in the agreement, I would recommend putting kind of the opposite for them. So for example, if I put something like, if the influencer fails to post about the product or follow the terms outlined in this agreement, the company has the right to pursue legal action or request reimbursement for the value of the products or services provided. You want to put the opposite of that in for the influencer as well. So, if the influencer posts about the product, but the business fails to provide payment on time, the influencer has the right to pursue legal action. It just makes things fair. You guys it is really a partnership. This is someone you'll want to work with long term. So you have to see them more as a partner rather than someone like you're going up against. And then the last step of influencer marketing is tracking and analyzing the performance data of your campaign. So let's talk about how you can actually track your campaign performance. The first, and in my opinion, the easiest way to do that is providing a unique discount code for the influencer you're working with. Usually it's just like their name or their Instagram handle with the number after of what the discount would be. So this way you can track, exactly how many times that discount code has been redeemed. And you know that the only place that discount code is being promoted is on that influencer's page. Another option is creating a custom URL with, tracking information, so you can keep track of specifically like which actions they took. The influencer you were working with would be the only one with this specific URL. And then you would be able to track, what pages they visited on your website after that initial page, if they added something to their cart, if they checked out. You can do this using the Google Tag Manager. It's pretty tech heavy, so if you don't know how to do it already, I would recommend one of the other ways, but it is kind of the most in-depth, so it might be worth learning. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there that will kind of walk you through the process of setting it up, and it's free. So, and then there are also affiliate marketing apps that you can use to track everything and automatically send out payments. You're going to pay for them though, so again, a better free option would either be the discount code or the Google Tag Manager. If you are a service-based business or like an in-person business where people aren't purchasing stuff online, you can do something as simple as like, hey, mention the influencer's name when booking for this discount or whatever. But just make sure that, one, you're aware of all the influencers you're working with as well as anybody on your team, so you can keep track of that. And then finally, if you aren't necessarily, keeping track of sales, but you just want to see how many people actually clicked on the link or visited your webpage, you can use something like Bitly or creating a custom landing page specifically for that influencer. And then the specific data you want to keep track of, again, on this little value scale, starting at the least valuable would be just general awareness of your brand. So this is how many people actually saw the post, how many people watched the video, how many people engaged with it, how many new followers did you get from this influencer campaign, stuff like that. Kind of in the middle is traffic. So this is specifically people who interacted with the post and went ahead to either go to your profile if the influencer tagged you, they clicked on the link, maybe it took them like directly to a product page or something like that, and how many people went to your website directly from the post. And then finally, obviously the most valuable are conversions. They're the obvious conversions in terms of, products sold or, services booked, but there are also the less obvious ones like email signups, contact form submissions, or if they booked a call with you. Those are all very valuable as well. My personal recommendation is to kind of take the time to sit down and determine what each one of these things is, like how valuable it is to you. Obviously, with stuff like products sold or services booked, that's a very straightforward value. That's however much the person paid for it. But with things that are a little more obscure, you kind of just have to ask yourself, if I was just paying for this, how much would I be willing to pay? So for like link clicks, if you were running ads, what would a good cost per click be? Usually that's like around $1. And then obviously awareness would be even cheaper. But just take the time to kind of figure out, a dollar amount for each of these things. And then when you look at the analytics of the performance, you can really kind of add up your, how valuable that campaign was to your business. The data through Instagram. So some of this, yes. So mostly like the awareness and the traffic ones you can view directly through Instagram. You would need to ask the influencer that posted it to share those analytics with you. So if you have a written agreement with them, I would include that in the timeline portion and kind of say, within 1 week or 1 month of posting, the influencer will provide the post performance data to the business. If you don't have a written agreement, it's something that you could simply reach out afterwards and quickly ask them like, hey, thank you so much. Love the post you did. Would you mind sending over the analytics for the post quickly, just so we can keep track on the back end? And I've never had someone say no to it. If they do, then it probably didn't perform that well, and you don't want to work with them again in the future. But the rest of the stuff in terms of conversions, this is where those tracking links that we discussed on the last page, these really come in handy, so you can track all that information. The analytics in terms of changing every day, the average lifespan of a post on Instagram is 24 hours. So that just means after 24 hours, not that many people are seeing your post on their feed anymore. So especially if you give it like a week after them posting, it's probably not going to change much. You might get like a couple more likes here and there, but not enough to significantly change the value of the campaign. I would say the only exception to that are Instagram Reels. Sometimes they can just like randomly blow up a month later. But for normal posts, it pretty much stays the same. But yeah, my recommendation would just be like tracking this like in an Excel sheet or something. And then the next time you want to do another round of influencer campaigns, you can take a look back, see which influencers performed well. Maybe you even want to work with those exact same influencers again, or you can even just see, hey, like what types of influencers perform best, like in what niche were they in that made the most money, so what type of influencers to look for in your next campaign. That is everything that I had. Does anybody have any questions for me about that? I know it's a lot of information. I will be sending out the presentation along with a workbook. I'll send that out tomorrow morning. But does anyone have any questions? If you do, you can just unmute yourself and ask. That might be the easiest way, or send it in the chat. Nobody has any questions. Just quickly, we do have 3 more events scheduled for the rest of the year, some more workshops. Yes, I will be sending it through email. Yeah, I will include the link to the recording as well. So anybody who joined late, you can kind of catch up. Whichever email you use to register for the Zoom will be the email it'll be sent to. And I will also, that email will also have all these events on it with links to RSVP. But yeah, there's only a few more of the year left. We're going to be talking about how to develop a social media strategy, how to set your business up for success in 2022. So that will be, kind of looking at your performance this year and how to set goals for next year, as well as create a set action plan to get you there. And then we're going to end the year with social media trends to keep an eye on in 2022. And that's actually in collaboration with another social media agency. So that should be fun. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, I'll stay on for a couple more minutes, and you guys can either, if you signed up through the Meetup app, send me a message on Meetup and I will send it that way. That will probably be the easiest way to do it. But yeah, other than that, if you guys have any questions, like I said, I'll stay on the Zoom for a couple more minutes and you can just kind of unmute yourself or send it in the chat. But otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope this was helpful. And I hope you all have a great night, and I will see you in 2 weeks for the next workshop. Great. Thank you for joining. All right. So it seems like no one has any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and end the workshop. Thank you again for joining. And if you have any questions later on, you can reach me on any of these. So thank you again, and I'll send out everything tomorrow morning.